जमालो हुस्न कुरान नूर जाने हर मुसलमान है.
The introduction of the Holy Quran.
Yeah.
And if you have read some outside as well, this is basically the holy book of the scripture of Muslims, just like Holy Bible is for Christians and for Jews as well.
Some people pronounce it the Quran. That's
Yeah, I mean it's just the pronunciation is changes, but this is the actual way of writing that we utilize.
oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
If you have any questions or any further clarifications, you need something that you don't understand or something you would like to know more about or something you've read from before, feel free to ask.
Okay. You said the text of the Holy Quran has been unchanged over the last 1,400 years. So was about the origin of it.
Yes. Basically, because that verse was revealed in the Holy Quran, which is part of the Holy Quran. Verily, we ourselves have sent down this exhortation, and most surely will be its guardian.
Okay. Yeah.
So it is basically God's statement in the Quran that says that we will protect it. So we believe, not just we believe, and it's proven that it hasn't been changed at all. The original text has always been preserved.
Okay.
The translations people have done afterwards, but these are examples of the Holy Quran.
Oh,
So this is the Arabic. That's exactly as it was 1400 years ago. And translations have been done again and again and again.
Yes.
This is just a display of the translations that our community has done. These are just some of them. And because the room is smaller, so we couldn't even put out the ones we have also available.
Okay.
But there are over 100 translations that our community alone has done, including very small dialects and languages and different parts of the world.
So that's different interpretations or of the original script, or
The translation is basically supposed to be word by word, and this is what is done here. But for example, I'll just give you an example. This is the English language one, right? So it says, let's just go to, it's talking about the story of Pharaoh and Moses, right? So Pharaoh said, you have believed in him before, I gave you leave or I gave you permission. He is surely your chief who has taught you magic, but you shall know the consequences thereof. If you notice, this is written in italics.
yes.
So it means that this is the interpretation part that has been added so that the readers understand. The actual is all in straight.
Oh, I see.
But this is absolute actual that was revealed, and this is the translation. There is no interpretation added in this, except for these parts, just to make it clear understanding. If there's further understanding, if there's further interpretation, it's usually added to the bottom.
Oh, I see.
And it's not much. But there are, commentators who have done, interpretation. But that's separate from the actual book. This is the actual book with the translation on the side.
But just going from one language to another, you get different interpretations.
Absolutely,
of
that's
the
what
same
I'm saying.
thing,
Yeah, that's what I
no matter
said.
what it is. So,
Yeah. That's why we believe that it's necessary to keep the Arabic on the side, the original language,
I see.
so the original text does not get lost. If someone studies the language at any point, he's able to understand what the Holy Quran is saying. And plus, if you utilize the dictionaries from that era, you'll be able to get closer to the meaning what you're trying to find.
I
So
see.
the researchers later on have written dictionaries explaining the language spoken at that time and even before that, just so that people understand better. So this is basically the translation on the side. But if, as I mentioned, to protect the text and to protect the meaning as well, the original text has been kept on the side so that if you understand, like for example, me, I have gone to school where I understood or learned the language enough to understand the Arabic. So, I mean, when I can, read, I can understand what's going on the side.
Okay.
So if there's like one word or two throughout anywhere, I refer to this.
Yeah.
Or if I, still don't understand, then I would refer to a dictionary. but I would generally just go by reading here, and it's exactly where it's supposed to be here.
Yeah.
So there's supposed to be no interpretation added to the translation. This is supposed to be just the translation, which is word by word, you can say.
Join in here, there's
I
nothing else,
will,
it's not just,
it's interesting, I'm listening.
Yeah, you can feel free to ask
Yeah.
a question anytime, at any point, there's no worries. Even if I'm having a conversation with someone else, or, if you want to ask someone else, feel free to do so. It's like,
yeah.
all one conversation. So this is what we believe about the Holy Quran, that it has been preserved. And we believe that the reason you have to understand the context behind this, we believe all the books are revealed from God Almighty, including the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament.
Mhm.
And you go further back, different prophets, different religions, they're all from scriptures are from God.
Yeah.
It's just that God did not promise to them that their scripture would be protected. And similarly, this is the only book that has this promise, and it has been protected. And we can understand when we study the history that how it was protected. Whatever God does, we believe there's a logical and scientific explanation to it. So, there has to be a logical explanation to how the Quran was protected. If you want, I can explain that as well.
Sure, a 5-second summary.
5 seconds would be a little too short. But when the Holy Quran was being revealed, it was being memorized at the same time. So our Muslims in that age, especially, nearly all the people had the Holy Quran memorized. There was one text being written every day or whenever, a week later. Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, sorry.
No problem. This is where the exhibition for the Holy Quran begins. You can start reading that, or you can listen to our conversation here. So what happened was the Quran was being revealed. It took 23 years to reveal, as you might have read over this. It was being memorized at the same time. There were not hundreds. There were not, there's thousands of people who had memorized the Quran during the life of the Prophet. And it was being written down every day when the Prophet used to tell his companion that, okay, now write this down.
Oh, yeah.
So written down, there was one script, that's for sure. But at the same time, for the protection, there was a memorization coming along with it. So after the Prophet passed away, then they looked at that script and mashed it, not with one person, but with so many people's memorization to make sure that it's on the same level. And that way it was protected. It was protected because everyone had it memorized. Had there been a slight change at that point, people would have pointed out. And then, within 20 years, it had been spread to all over the world, that same script. So had there been discrepancies or conflict, it would have come out at some point, but there didn't. Why? Because, it was protected in that manner. God instructed, we believe, to Prophet Muhammad to do that. And we believe that, as I mentioned, other books are from from God Almighty as well. We don't reject any book. We believe in all the books, and we believe that they have guidance in them as well. And we believe that a lot of teachings from there have been re-mentioned in the Holy Quran because God attests to those things because they are true prophets. And then the last part is chapters and verses. It explains what are chapters and what are verses. So, just like in Bible, there are books, and in the books there are chapters. Each chapter has about,
So, I'm gonna apologize ahead of time, but this is one of the things I was thinking of. Like, I'm thinking of ISIS, and I know that this is an information gathering. So, they talk about the Quran. Is their Quran different than your Quran?
No.
Like, how are they so extreme and you so the other way?
Have you researched a bit into ISIS?
I've tried a bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just to mention, there are 1.6 billion Muslims in the world, or more than that.
I realize that,
right?
yeah.
And how many members or people that have joined ISIS? Probably 10,000, 12,000. What percentage is that?
I understand that,
No,
but what are they seeing?
No,
'Cause they
I
quote
will
the
explain.
Quran as well, like,
Aren't they interpreting what is said differently?
That's what I'm saying.
That's
So
what
I
I
will
was gonna
explain.
ask, like,
So
how
it's
do
like
they
very
do it
small
differently?
percentage. What they do is they don't believe in the Holy Quran as per se.
Mhm.
Recently, a journalist from UK, United Kingdom, he was held hostage for a whole year by the ISIS,
Mhm.
and they had him, in custody. And later, when he was released, he was asked that, what did you notice about them? Like, what do they like? Do they practice the same Islam? What is their practice of Islam? So he replied saying that they didn't even have a copy of the Holy Quran to them that the whole time I was with them. So meaning that they do not even care about what the book says.
Yeah.
They have nothing to do with the religion. It's more of a political war, and they just utilize the Holy Quran to benefit their own purpose. And as I mentioned, if you read the whole book together, there would be no contradiction. But if you pick and choose just random verses from here and there, then you can take anything to mean whatever you want.
As in any Bible.
Yes.
Yeah.
As in Bible,
Or
you know,
as
even a
anything.
book of law, you know,
That's
if you
right,
take a
yeah.
book of law
Yeah.
and you just ignore everything else and you just say that if someone commits this crime, what's the penalty for him? Okay, and if you just utilize that phrase, you're like, okay, this is what the law says.
Yeah.
No, that's not what the law says. The law says that if someone does
Yes.
this, you do this, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Not just go out and start punishing everybody, not just, like, you know, put people in jail even if they haven't even stolen.
Right.
Like, you know, whatever their
Right.
crimes
So-
are, punishments are.
Okay, so one of the things that I was wondering about, you yourself and the faith you believe in, are you doing anything to counteract what they are doing? Like, I know this is fine, this is wonderful, because we've never talked about it otherwise, but, within the Muslim religion itself, are there any steps that you are doing to counteract?
We are actually doing a lot of steps. This is just one of them.
Yeah,
Just last Sunday, it hasn't even been a week yet, we were in a town called Unity, in Saskatchewan side, right? We had a huge turnout over there at the open house. So this is just one example. I'll give you more examples. But the reality is we shouldn't have to do this, but we have to do this because media does it to us. You understand what I'm saying? It's not
Yes.
because of ISIS, but it's more because of media.
I-
For example, what happened yesterday, you know, in Colorado Springs, that we heard it on the news, right? Very unfortunate incident.
yeah,
Why is nobody saying that we condemn that, we don't support that? Why not?
I don't know.
I think everybody kind of just feels that way.
The media just reports the sensation.
There were
That's
three,
right.
there was an attack at a building, I think it was a senior home. It was a building and then they were attacked and there were 3 people, innocent civilians, who were killed, and then there were several, about 9 or 10, I think yesterday they were injured, so they were in critical situation. But what I'm trying to say is that, you know, nobody has to come out and say that, you know, that's not Christianity, that's not Judaism, that's not Buddhism, whoever that person
I
belonged
agree,
to.
I totally.
So, but we have to do it not even because of ISIS, but more because of
Right.
media.
The sensationalism.
Yes.
Yes, exactly, just to create news out of
But
it.
I also think that, in any, like even in our own town, if there's somebody doing something that is, nobody agrees with, there is peer pressure, or there is community pressure that comes in and says, no, that's not what we are all like, hate.
Absolutely.
Right.
As for what we are doing, our community held several Stop the Crisis programs. It's called Stop the Crisis, and crisis has the word ISIS in it, so how we can stop, you know, the radicalization of youth. Last year, when this, you know, ISIS issue was still new, and there were several youth people who traveled from Calgary to Syria to fight
Yes,
along with
yes.
ISIS. They weren't even Muslims, first of all.
No,
They weren't Muslims. They converted from, you know, whatever faith to ISIS, never to Islam. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Oh, yeah.
So they
yeah.
converted, went there and traveled there, and, you know, whatever they did over there, we're not even sure of those, right?
Yeah.
So after that, our community launched this campaign called Stop the Crisis. It wasn't just, you know, local here. It was entire national campaign. Throughout Canada, we held 40 such workshops. It was more like a symposium, like a, you know, lecture-based
Yes.
plus video presentations to educate the youth so
Yeah.
that they don't get influenced by those. And the target was not only Muslims, because as I mentioned, the Calgary people, they
Yes.
weren't Muslims.
No.
They converted to, not even Islam, to ISIS or
Yes.
Right.
so-called,
Yes.
they're in their mind, maybe Islam. So we tried to educate people, not just in one town, but in every town. And nationally, as I mentioned, we held 40 conferences. In Lloydminster, we held a conference at Lakeland College.
Oh, yes.
So, I mean, we this is just one
Yeah,
effort,
that's
right?
awesome.
And
Yeah.
we do these open houses in every place, even small towns,
Yeah.
just to educate people and give the idea that this is what our religion teaches. Tomorrow, if somebody says that, you know, to anyone that, you know, God forbid they're converting to ISIS, they would know that, no, they're not converting to Islam. They would not be confused in their minds either.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's sort of the intention behind these events and that event.
Yeah.
Stop the Crisis, we have a larger community in Lloydminster, so those kind of events are easier to conduct over there.
Yeah.
But we regularly hold open houses just for education of everyone all around the, you
Yeah,
know.
you have to separate yourself from the IS of ISIS, the Islamic State of, so, which isn't really an Islamic
Yeah.
State. It's a radicalized.
Yeah, they can call it whatever they want. There was a, yeah, absolutely.
something.
There was a meme actually you might have seen as well, or may not have seen. It just had like a small stall or a booth in the middle of a market in like in one of the third world countries. If you have traveled outside of to one of those countries, you would know that just along the street they just make a stall or booth or something, and then they'll start selling stuff over there. Right? So outside the booth, it was burger shop, right, or burger booth. So they were selling burgers over there, and it had a banner or like a logo of McDonald's on it. So it said, the meme said that if you believe that if this is if ISIS is Islam, then this is McDonald's.
Right.
So this is the similarity. Just because someone claims to be of a certain. Hello, good afternoon.
Good day, how are you?
Hello. Hi.
The exhibition begins over here. This is the introduction to what.
Yeah, I did, yeah, okay, that's how I know. Sorry.
Sorry, no, he's just trying to read that. I
That's
think.
okay, no?
The banner. Thank you so much.
So you're from Leidminster?
Yeah, all of us.
Oh, yes, and you're the
Imam.
Imam.
Yes, and
yes.
Imam is the basically goes out and gets the word out kind of guy.
Great,
So
yeah,
the different duties have been assigned to each person.
sure.
So I'm serving as the Imam
What we
in
would call a minister or a priest, correct?
Yes,
Imam.
absolutely. Reverend, priest, Imam,
Rabbi.
missionary,
Yeah.
all those terms go by.
I have to apologize for this question because I didn't do enough research, but, so, like the Christians have Easter and Christmas, and they're two big ones. What are yours?
We have two celebrations, major celebrations. One that comes right after the month of fasting. Fasting month is called Ramadan,
Mhm.
and right after that there's a celebration called Eid.
Okay.
Yes, so that's the first Eid. That is a celebration, major celebration. And the second major celebration is that comes 2 months and 10 days after the first one. Roughly 2 months, 9 days, 10 days, 11 days, could be different depending on lunar calendar, because that's what we go by, right? So that is the second Eid, the celebration, and that on that day we commemorate the sacrifice of Prophet Abraham, when he first about to sacrifice his son, and then God told him that you don't need to do that. Then he slaughtered a goat or like a sheep or something, another animal instead. So that's the second Eid. So these are the two major celebrations that Muslims have.
Oh,
And the background behind that is,
Behind,
why did you pick those two?
because that's the Prophet Muhammad said that God gives celebrations to every religion, every community.
Okay,
So for us, God has prescribed these 2 days.
okay.
So that's the reason behind these two particular days. And as I mentioned, that the one is after fasting for a whole month. So it is given as a celebration for what you have done. You have sacrificed so much of your patience or whatever you have, the effort you have put in for the month. There's a celebration after that. And then the other one is just to remind us of the sacrifice that Prophet Abraham was so prepared to make, so that in this day and age, if God demands, not just God, religions, community, demands
Country.
sacrifice from us,
Country
we are,
also.
country, for example, we are ready to do it. So that spirit of sacrifice, as the Prophet said it, we should try to get to that. Of course, that was a much higher level, but we should, try to get to that, then we will get somewhere. So that's a purpose behind the two celebrations.
Okay. Now, I know part of this answer, but the other one is I want to know how the status between males and females.
Yes, I will explain that. Do you guys have any questions? Feel free to ask a question at any point.
I have one question.
Okay, I'll take your question, then I'll come back to the.
Okay. I'm also interested in that answer too, but I'm reading Ahmadiyya Muslim Jama,
Yes.
okay? So, is that the branch of Muslim?
That's like a denomination or a
So
sect.
different from Sunni, different from Shiite, okay?
Yes.
And so where is it mostly practiced?
It's spread out, literally spread out throughout the world. Very popular or very common in India, Pakistan, and Indonesia,
Okay.
many Muslim countries, and similarly in very significant numbers in Africa as well.
Okay.
Millions in Africa as well, and in Canada we have quite a few members in Canada as well. So there's a large gathering in Canada as well. So they were spread out throughout the world. This is again Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, Sunni, Shia. They're all major sects of Islam, but the ones that come in the news, Sunni and Shia, a lot because of the conflicts that is there between them. That's the reason that they're very popularly known. As I mentioned, if you study the Middle East, their faith and their culture a bit, you realize that some countries are Sunnis and some are Shias, and that's why there's so much conflict in that region. And not just conflict, but that because of that conflict, the two sects are really, in the news again and again, and people get to hear about that.
Well, and part of the problem comes from arbitrarily drawing lines to make borders for countries that include putting traditional lands from one group into another group's area. And I mean, we did it all over Africa. We did it after the Second World War in the Middle East.
Exactly.
And it's been nothing but problems.
It's been very bad, but I mean, those are very sophisticated reasons to explain. But generally, yes, you understand them much better, I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, I didn't ever hear of this branch before
Okay.
because they're probably not in the news because they're not causing problems. So where are you from originally?
I am originally from Pakistan.
Pakistan.
Yes. So our community over there is persecuted a lot by the local Muslims as well. So because of that, recently we have had to migrate out of as many as we can from there. So there's a lot of Ahmadis from Pakistan. They have to travel out. For example, in Pakistan, if I call myself, like if I use certain words that regular other Muslims, Sunni Muslims use on a daily basis, I could be punished or put in jail for up to 3 years. A lot of such persecution is done over there due to that because we cannot practice our faith freely over there. For this reason, a lot of people, Ahmadis from Pakistan, have to migrate.
And same thing that's happening with Syria. I mean,
Just based on
ISIS has said we're in charge of all the Muslims in the world, and if you don't agree with that, they persecute you, they kill you, and they drive you out of your country.
Absolutely. In
Crazy.
ISIS in Syria and Iraq alone, ISIS has killed over 100,000 people in past year and a half or 2 years. Since they've gained power, and you can imagine how much percentage of that is Muslims. 99.9999%. I mean, if more nines I would still be less.
They drove ISIS out of an area in Iraq, I believe, and mass graves, all women, Muslim.
Yeah.
And then another one about 15 kilometers away with men, women, and children.
No, they have no faith, no religion, no care for humanity whatsoever in their hearts. They don't belong to any faith. You can't even call them Muslims. It's an embarrassment that they're people of that country are embarrassed to even say that they're their countrymen because they literally don't represent anyone. We believe that ISIS and such groups, they're mentally deranged, twisted, confused people that groups like ISIS target, pick them up, radicalize them, put their own information, give them a purpose of life. These people have no purpose of life. Like the person I was giving the example of Colorado Springs. What was that person doing, right? He had no purpose in his life. That's why he killed innocent people, and then later he knew he was going to get caught. It's not like he was even trying to run away or anything, right? He knew he was going to get caught, but he still did what he did. So it's these kind of people whom groups like ISIS target, manipulate them, give them sort of a purpose in their life, and they end up committing huge atrocities and huge mass murders of innocent people.
It's not a lot different than the gangs of New York and Los Angeles and stuff. They try to find those people that they can.
Yeah.
I mean, to join a gang, you have to go kill somebody or rape somebody.
Exactly. It's exactly, and those people they have been twisted or confused already, right? So just to give a bit of description of the Holy Quran, that what our book teaches and why we believe in it. And first of all, we believe that, actually I'll come here after, this one deals about what I was about to say. Well, you have read the introduction. We believe that the Holy Quran was a book revealed from God Almighty, and God promised that I will protect this book. It says, we have sent down this exhortation, and most surely we will be its guardian. And as I mentioned earlier to you guys, that how God protected it by making the people memorize at the time. Prophet used to give the revelation to other people to memorize. Everybody used to memorize exactly the same portion, and then over a period of time, the entire Quran was revealed, 23 years, and everyone had memorized the entire Quran, and then it was spread about. So before, those people who had memorized it, they would go across to teach others. But during their life, that was the only way. Later, when Prophet passed away, then it was written down and spread abroad. So this way, God made sure that the book was protected, and the text today, as you can see in these books, it's exactly the same as it was during that time. The translations have been done after, but at the same time, translation is always kept on the side of the Arabic text to preserve the text and to make sure that, we believe that reading the actual language, the Arabic, it's better for our spirituality as well. It has more to do with spiritual aspect as well. So that we try to do. Moving on here, these are just some of the concepts mentioned in the Holy Quran, and we have highlighted just so that, people can understand that it is a book of spirituality, but at the same time it presents enough logical, scientific reasoning to why we should believe in it. Origin of life, it says, and surely we created man from dry, wringing clay, from black mud wrought into shape. And the jinn we have created before from the fire of hot wind. He created man from dry, wringing clay, which is like baked pottery, and we made from water every living thing. So it explains a bit of things over there, and then, more scientific concepts are mentioned there.
Is this where we hear the answer to this lady's question?
Yes, actually I will get there first. The banner is at the end, but I think I'll answer that
Oh,
first.
okay.
Oh,
that's
there we
fine.
go.
So, could you please repeat the question so then I can elaborate exactly?
Well, I just wanted to know what the balance between males and females are, as in, I don't know what I want to say. Help me out here first. Now I
In
lost
society.
it. In society, do they
In
have equal
society,
weight? Are they
equal.
treated equally? Are
Absolutely
they
equal.
revered, I guess?
No,
is what
they're
I'm saying.
absolutely equal in status.
Okay.
Man is not higher than woman, woman is not higher than man. And they can both attain the same spiritual status. That's what we learned from the Holy Quran. God says that both, whoever, man, male or female, strives, can attain the nearness of God.
Okay.
So absolutely no difference between man and woman. But it's just that, we, for example, we are here conducting this program. It is organized by the male auxiliary. So certain events, we have different organizations within our community. Women auxiliary, youth, and older females, and similarly in males we have the same thing. So we organize our events according to that, and they participate in the events just as much as we do. Just this past weekend, on last Saturday, there was the National Child Day, if you remember, in Lloydminster at Multiplex. The auxiliary of our community, Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, the women's auxiliary was there assisting with that thing the entire day. So we all participate in our own way. As for parda, or the niqab, or the veil, or the covering, we believe that it is, God has prescribed it for women so that for modesty, it is believed that if they follow this commandment, it is better for them in spiritual matters. Not just because, it's not that we force them, but if they want to, it's better for their spirituality. I'll give an example. If someone goes to a church every Sunday, he believes that it's better for his spirituality. But if someone doesn't do it, it's his choice.
Okay, so are the coverings, are they custom or are they religious?
The covering is religious,
Religious? Okay.
but enforcing it, sometimes, in certain customs, certain cultures, they force it, but that's not Islamic.
Okay, so is there any shunning for anybody that doesn't carry through?
As I mentioned, no, religiously, absolutely
No
not.
shunning?
No, religiously, absolutely not permitted.
I think,
Culturally, sometimes it happens. I
Yes.
agree.
Okay.
Religiously, our religion says La ikraha fi din. It's Arabic, which translates to there is no compulsion in religion,
Okay.
which means that any religious matter you cannot force anyone. May it be prayer, just about that. it says Muslims have 5 daily prayers they have to pray. But if someone doesn't do it, then you cannot punish them, because that is a matter between man and or women and God.
Okay.
So there's no compulsion, and religiously, no shunning, no punishing, or any of that form allowed. But culturally, sometimes it happens to levels which is not acceptable. But again, I would mention that hello, good afternoon. It gets highlighted more in media more than it should sometimes.
I was just gonna say, from my point of view as somebody from the western part of the world, until I got to be friends with some Muslims in university, I had always thought that covering of the heads or the burqas was subjugating women until
You have
but I
people
think that
pretending to
maybe
meet someone.
I don't want to sort of blanket all Western people, but that may be a misconception that we look at a woman veiled or with a head covering and think, well, she's subjugated,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
poor person, instead of seeing it as a choice that she's made for her
Absolutely,
spiritual journey.
absolutely. You understand that because you have spent some time with Muslim
Yes,
women, I assume,
yes.
right? Exactly. But a lot of times, you're right, this misconception exists because a lot of times people don't talk to women and they just have this assumption. But especially in this society, it is very, very apparent that Muslim women that are wearing the scarf or head covering, they're absolutely wearing from their own choice, and they prefer it because they feel that it is better for their spirituality. Again, if someone doesn't want to, nobody can force them.
Are there women there?
Yes, not in this picture, because women and men pray separately.
Okay.
Because it is, again, we believe God has made man and woman in such a way that there is bound to be attraction between them. So for mass purpose, they're kept separate, but there's no
But
prayers
if-
especially,
But if they go for Hajj and
Yes, yes.
Umrah, like
which is in Mecca.
yeah, in Mecca, so all Muslim and man they all do that practice together.
Oh,
The reason being because that is, we believe, the highest level of worship. And if someone is at that point, then the spirituality is such that it should not be cause of distraction. So the only reason men and women are kept separate in prayers is for avoidance of distraction. There's nothing else.
Yeah, no
That's-
woman cover their mouth there.
Yeah.
No woman covers their mouth there.
that's in a Jewish worship service, the men and women are separate there too.
Yeah.
And certain, in the early Protestant churches, like the Puritans, they have men and women on.
All right.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So that's I think it's,
In the religious aspect, it's
Yeah.
common, yes. Good afternoon, Lorna.
Good
Welcome.
afternoon, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you so much. Okay, after this we have prophecies of the Holy Quran. This is just, in the Holy Quran we believe there are thousands, countless prophecies. Some are very clear, some are we understand right away. Some of them have not even been fulfilled yet. They're about a future time. Some are being fulfilled every single day. So how many prophecies can you find? It says, Holy Quran contains many prophecies spread over its 114 chapters. Some have already come true, some have not yet. See how many prophecies you can find in the 12 verses of the chapter 81. So this is just one chapter in the first 12 verses. And they say that, how many can you find? And they have written the answers at the bottom. So it starts, in the name of Allah, the Gracious, the Merciful. Every chapter in the Holy Quran starts with this verse. Why? Because we believe that Prophet Moses prophesied, or God prophesied through Prophet Moses. And he said that when the Prophet will come, Prophet Muhammad will come, he will speak everything in the name of God. And if he shall presume to speak, in name of any other God, or what I have not commanded him, I will kill him immediately, basically. And it's from Deuteronomy 18:18. So because of that, every chapter of the Holy Quran begins with this. So testifying, Prophet Muhammad is God is making Prophet testify that you're fulfilling that command, and if you were not true, you would be killed. Then after that, it contains all the prophecies. When the sun is wrapped up, and when the stars are obscured. So it says the collapse of the solar system, and when the mountains are made to move. This is right next verse. The invention of dynamite and other means to create create passages through mountains. So how in this day and age, just recently past 150 years, when the she-camel, 10 months pregnant, are abandoned, the camels were the main source of transportation in Arabia in particular because they could go long distances without needing water right away. So, it says that, in this day and age, we can see how cars, so many things have come, along that have replaced camels as transportation, not just camels and many other things. Many other like horses and other animals, we have abandoned them. When the beasts are gathered together, so just recently it has happened, just in the past century, 1 or 2 centuries, the establishment of like zoo or like safari parks, where all the animals are brought together. It never used to happen before. When the seas are made to flow forth into one another. So God has joined the seas, the oceans that were thought to be separate forever. God created the means in this day and age for them to be brought together. For example, Panama Canal connecting the 2 oceans, Suez Canal, and so these are just like in those days it was just impossible to even assume that it was possible. Moving on, and when people are brought together. People are brought together, well, one simple understanding would be global village, how everything, we are connected to the people in Australia as much as we're connected to the people next door. Last weekend we were conducting our open house in Unity. I gave this example. My friend who was standing right beside me, he was on on his phone, and I was telling the people, audience over there, that if this person is talking to someone outside in the other hall, or talking to someone in Australia, I would have no clue, because how the world has been brought together. Someone so far, someone so close, they're still together. Moving on, and when the girl child buried alive is questioned about for what crime was she killed. In that day and age, women used to be, if a female child was born in Arabia, they would bury her right away because they thought of it as a disgrace. So the Holy Quran came, Holy Prophet came and forbade that, saying that it is not allowed, and basically gave respect to women.
That was firstborn?
Sorry?
That was firstborn girl?
Or any girl.
No, any girl generally. And it wasn't by 100% of the people, but that custom was prevalent in their society, and certain people would practice that. And it is such a horrific custom that even if one person does it and the other person is not able to condemn it, it's extremely sad. Or if the other person is not able to stop him from doing it, it's that bad of a crime. Like there's no, like you can't even explain it into words. So this verse here says that just when these things are happening, what will happen in that day and age? Women right associations will be created, and this is the first era, past 150 years, when rest of the prophecies are coming true. That it is now that whenever something happens against women, there's someone who stands up for their right, especially from among the women, and we say that this is the prophecy that it is being asked that why did that happen? Not just in the past, but even today, whenever, anywhere in the world something happens, there are those organizations to protect the rights of women. When books are spread abroad, that talks clearly about the printing press and spreading of books, such as forming of libraries, as we are, standing in one right now. And when the heaven is laid bare from one stage to another, it says development in cosmology and astronomy, revealing the secrets of the skies. So, the way we have studied the heavens, cosmology and astronomy, it had never ever been studied this way before, and now we know so much depth about science, about astronomy, that one could not imagine 1400 years ago or even 300 years ago. No one could imagine that. So God was basically, these are just the prophecies, they're some of the prophecies about this day and age, and they're so easy to relate to and understand. But there are hundreds or thousands of prophecies, some that we do understand, some that we don't even understand right now. If this was read to someone 200 years ago, he probably would not have understood it. That what exactly it means, maybe, very likely. This explains more regarding our faith. We Muslims believe that all prophets came from God. All prophets came from God. That includes Prophet Abraham, Prophet Noah, Prophet Adam before and after Prophet Abraham, Prophet Isaac, Prophet Jesus, Prophet Moses, any prophet that you talk about in the Bible, definitely from God, and not just those. Prophet Buddha in in Chinese and so many other Chinese prophets, Prophet Confucius. We believe all those are prophets because we believe that God did not leave any nation without guidance. And when you accept that those were truthful people, then automatically you respect those beings. You do not ever say anything against them. So it says, "Verily we have sent thee with the truth as a bearer of glad tidings, as a warner, and there is no people to whom a warner has not been sent." If we say that God has only been sending prophets just in this area, then what about those people? What was their, sin, or what was their fault that they were not getting God? So we don't believe that. We believe every people had a prophet, a warner, and who came to guide them. And we respect all of those prophets, and we believe all of those religions to be true as well. Similarly goes on revelations to all prophets. Whichever prophet came, God revealed to them. And prophets across the ages, as I mentioned some of them briefly. The last verse says, "We sent some messengers whom we have already mentioned to thee, and some messengers whom we have not mentioned to thee." So therefore, if we find a respectable personality, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Welcome. If there's a respectable personality or a person who's revered or respected in any society, especially from past days, he is worthy of respect because we believe he was from God. If people have gone away from the teachings, it does not mean that that person taught that. Because all prophets, if they were all from God, from the same God, then they must have all taught the same teachings of respect and love towards humanity. So if there's someone promoting violence, you know right away that if their prophet was true, he did not teach that. So that's what our understanding is. And if some Christian, Jew, or any other faith, Buddhist, does anything wrong, we know that it's not because his religion teaches that. No, absolutely not. Similarly with Islam, we do not associate the mistakes of the people to the prophet. We do not associate to the book or the prophet. Belief in all prophets, similar to as I mentioned, it says, "This messenger of ours believes in that which has been revealed to him from his Lord, and so do the believers. All of them believe in Allah, which is the name of God according to us, but whatever you name you use for him, we believe it's the same God. In Allah and in his angels and in his books and in his messengers, saying, we make no distinction between any of his messengers." So to create peace in the society, this is what the Holy Quran says. We make no distinction between prophets. There's no need to say that certain prophet is higher than the other, or certain this is higher or that is higher. No, they're all prophets of God. They're all righteous men. They were all guiding people to respect one another and worship God, or in whichever way they taught. But they are all teaching the same thing. So therefore, to establish peace in the society, this is what Islam teaches. That first you respect all of them, and then you do not make distinction between them. Then it says no monopoly on salvation. And we do not say that you have to be a Muslim to go to heaven or to attain God's nearness. No, absolutely not. Surely the believers, which refers to Muslims in this case, and the Jews and the Christians and the Sabians, whichever party from among these truly believes in Allah the God and last day and does good deeds. It does not say that you have to believe in, let's say, Prophet Muhammad or the Holy Quran. No, nothing. It says believe in God and last day. By last day it means that they care about accountability, that they have to do the right deeds, not that they can do anything and still be, they should realize that they will be held accountable if they make mistakes in this world. And the last day, and does good deeds, shall have their reward with their Lord, and no fear shall come upon them, nor shall they grieve. So again, as I mentioned, our religion, Islam, teaches whatever sect, whatever denomination, whatever religion, whatever faith you belong to, as long as you have sense of doing good, God will grant you his nearness and salvation. If you believe in heaven, he will grant you heaven. No compulsion in religion. I already mentioned that verse. Very integral, very key verse of the Holy Quran. It gives an understanding to the entire Holy Quran that there should be no compulsion in religion. So if someone doesn't want to follow whatever religion they belong to, you cannot force them. So simply, if someone doesn't want to pray, doesn't want to go to church on Sunday, some woman doesn't want to cover her head, or whatever, any other matter that maybe someone doesn't want to someone doesn't want to fast, their choice, no compulsion in religion. On religious ground, no shunning, no punishing, no such matter. Admonish therefore, for thou art but an admonisher, thou hast no authority to compel them. This is another verse of the Holy Quran, goes similar along the same lines, that no compulsion, you're only there, the Prophet telling the Prophet, that you're only there as a person to remind them. We were studying the prophecies over there, these are just some more of them, cosmology. Do not the unbelievers see that the heavens and the earth were a closed up mass, then we open them out. We believe it's referring to the Big Bang Theory in here. And one more thing I should say, the Holy Quran has, as I mentioned, hundreds of prophecies of scientific nature and whatever nature have already been fulfilled. But we do not believe that you can just pick up the Holy Quran and start reading and start trying to make discoveries. No, it is to attest the belief of a believer who believes and understands when there is a discovery or of certain nature. If there is a certain verse, it attests to it that yes, that theory must be true. Then we do not go saying that no, this theory is probably wrong too. You understand? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if there's anything that you don't understand or you have a question, something different, feel free to ask whenever. So we believe this is, don't the unbelievers see that the heavens and the earth were a closed up mass? Then we open them out. So those people who don't believe in God, it is calling them and saying that, look, this is an enough sign, a sufficient sign. And then it says, and the heaven we built with our own powers, and indeed we go on expanding it. As we know, right after the Big Bang Theory, right after the Big Bang, the closed up mass started to expand. And even today it's expanding. So all the particles or the small planets or whatever came from there, it's still going away from one another. It's not staying at one place. It's not just staying there. It's spreading, like going further in whichever direction it started to go. And so basically it says we go on to expanding it. And then remember the day when we shall roll up the heavens like the rolling up of written scrolls by a scribe. As we began the first creation, so shall we repeat it, a promise binding upon us, we shall certainly perform it. The Holy Quran depicts many aspects of cosmology, astronomy, including the beginning of the universe and the Big Bang, the expanding nature of the universe, the celestial orbits, path of the sun and the moon, the different nature of light coming from the sun and the moon, the collapse and ending of the universe as we know it, the recreation of the universe, the existence of extraterrestrial life, and our contact with it. Moving on, astronomy. He it is who made the sun radiate a brilliant light and the moon reflect a luster. So it says, again, this is something, 1400 years ago, people absolutely did not understand. And if you just go a few centuries back, they didn't realize this either. That they thought the moon was giving its own light. It is very recently that we realized that no, moon is not giving its own light. It is the reflection of the sun. And then the Holy Quran says, he it is who made the sun radiate, God it is who made the sun radiate a brilliant light and the moon reflect a luster. Now moving on, he it is who created the night and the day and the sun and the moon, each gliding along in its orbit. And again, this is something 1400 years ago people didn't understand. As I mentioned, just a few centuries ago, people didn't understand to this much clarity that what it meant. And the system, the orbits, none of that kind of stuff. And the sun is moving on the course prescribed for it, and that is the decree of Almighty, the all-knowing God. And for the moon we have appointed stages, till it becomes again like an old dry branch of a palm tree. It is not for the sun to overtake the moon, nor can the night outstrip the day. All of them float in an orbit. Again, that orbit nature, as it was mentioned. Extraterrestrial life. This is a verse from the Holy Quran. And among his signs is the creation of the heavens and the earth, and of whatever living creatures he has spread forth in both. Now this is the key part. It says heavens and the earth. Among his signs is the creation of that, and whatever he has spread in both of them, heavens and the earth. So the Holy Quran says that there is a possibility of extraterrestrial life. We may come into contact with it or not. That's besides the point. But it does not reject that, and we believe. So moving on, more prophecies. Air traffic, it says, and by the heaven full of tracks. So God is saying that there will come a time when heaven will be full of tracks. And now we know, with the establishment of the airports and the air transportation becoming so common, the airplanes do not just fly from destination A to destination B in whichever they want. They actually they may not have physical or visible roads, but they have certain tracks or paths that they follow. So thousands of aircraft are in the air at any given time. Collision avoidance systems and ground and air controls are used to make sure that the aircraft do not collide. And, so heaven full of tracks is literally being fulfilled. Biometrics, their ears and their eyes and their skins will bear witness against them as to what they had been doing. This is again a verse of the Holy Quran. It says, their ears, their eyes, and their skins will bear witness against them as to what they had been doing. And we see that a lot of crimes nowadays are, solved. They find this criminal usually through one of these measures that, either the fingerprints or something else, and even eyes and whatnot. These are the security systems that are being applied in different parts, in different places. So again, the Holy Quran hints at the advent of fingerprints and retinal scans for investigative purpose. Sorry.
Since we're just talking, we do have refreshments if you guys want to grab a drink and stuff, and then while he's having a session, it's up to you guys. Just go ahead.
Yeah, I guess if I can, after I explain this, I guess last one, because we already sort of dealt with this. So later, you should grab refreshments, water, whatever you like, and then you can stay and ask as many questions to any of the volunteers here. I am here, 2 friends here, then outside as well. Yes.
I have one question.
Yes.
Muhammad started the Muslim religion. When did it start to break apart?
What do you mean break apart?
Yeah.
Into
the
Sunnis,
Sunnis.
and the Sunnites, Shiites, I'm not sure I'm gonna say this,
Ahmadiyya.
Ahmadiyya.
Ahmadiyya Jamaat. Okay. When Prophet Muhammad was alive, it was all one. After him, there was caliphate. We believe it was rightly guided caliphate, the successorship, which continued after. And it continued until 4 leaders, and it was still all united. After the 4th leader, and we believe it says in the Holy Quran, that after every prophet there are successors. After Prophet Moses, there was Joshua. After Prophet Jesus, there was Peter. Similarly, like a lot of them we don't even know because the history is not available to us, in that much depth. So we believe that after every prophet there was caliphate, and it says in the Holy Quran, and we believe it to be true not just for Islam but for all religions, as long as the people remain worship, majority of them is good, doing good deeds, God will keep this blessing of caliphate or successorship among them. As soon as the majority turns away, not 1 or 2 or a few people, majority becomes disobedient towards the commandments of God, which is serving humanity and serving God. As soon as majority becomes disobedient, God takes away that blessing. So this is what happened. We understand that right after a few decades after the Prophet, after 4 successors, that community started to break up in this sense that there were some disputes. So that successorship was taken away. They still had leaders, but they were not spiritually guided leaders. And we do not respect them in religious sense, but they were leaders, just like as a prime minister, a president, or a king, whichever you want to say. So they may, if they have done something good or bad, that's their thing, but a successor, a truly rightly guided successor, would not do anything. So it was about 30 or 35 years after the Prophet's life that the first split happened, and it was a very small split, as I mentioned. That was the Sunni and Shia split that took place. But Ahmadiyya Jamaat, as you can read on the bottom of most of the banners and the banner outside which said Ahmadiyya Muslim Community, this community was foretold by Prophet Muhammad himself that about 12, 13 centuries later, a community will be started, a Messiah will come. And he said that just like Jesus was sent to the Jewish people, followers of Prophet Moses, in the 14th century, to bring the people back to the original teachings because they had gone too far. Similarly, he said, in our community, in our religion, in our faith, there will be a Messiah who will bring the people back and unite all mankind. And that is what we believe, our community, that is how it was started about 126 years ago in 1889. And we believe, if you might have seen the banner, yes, right at the entrance it says Messiah has come, if you guys realize. We believe, is the Messiah, the founder of our community. our community understands that not just Prophet Muhammad foretold that a Messiah was going to come. Every religion, as I mentioned earlier, they're all from God. That's what we understand. Prophet Buddha, Prophet Krishna, Prophet Jesus, whichever prophet, they're all from God. And every religion is waiting for someone, generally a Messiah. The Jews are waiting for the Messiah, first Messiah, I guess still. The Christians are waiting for the return of the Messiah. The Muslims are waiting for the Messiah. The Buddhists are waiting for the return of Buddha. The Hindus are waiting for the return of Krishna. And similarly, when you go and study the smaller communities and those, like, the communities that have been cut off from the rest of the world for, centuries or like for thousands of years actually, and they have just connected to the world in the past 200 years maybe, everyone was waiting for someone. And as I mentioned, all of them were true prophets that brought the teachings. And if in one day all of these different people were going to come, a different Buddha, a different Krishna, a different Jesus, a different, instead of bringing people together, it would have created a chaos. So we believe there was a plan of God, that God's working to bring people together, not to spread people, to a different part of the world. They were all true prophets. The world was not a global village at that time. If Prophet Jesus came to Palestine and Israel area, he was not able to convey his message during his life to Australia. Just giving an example, or to Canada or North America or whichever part, wherever there were people living. There were people living here even before, the mass migration happened. The first nations, they were here, but we believe they had their own prophets.
Yeah.
So similarly, we believe that they had their own prophets. Every nation had their prophets, and in this day and age, if all those religions were true, then and all those religions would start receiving their own messiahs and whatnot, instead of creating a unity, uniting people, there will be a rift and more conflict in the world. So we believe that the Messiah has been sent in this sense to unite all mankind, not to create differences. But again, this is what our belief is, and this is what we understand, and we believe it has been fulfilled because many of the prophecies that were given regarding him have been fulfilled. So this is what our community is, and this is how it was founded 126 years ago by the Messiah whose picture you've seen outside.
So if I took this Quran to the Sunni Quran and compared it to the Shiite Quran, would they all be exactly the same?
Absolutely.
So it's just interpretations.
Interpretation may differ, but the actual word is there. So what that does is, since the original text is there, if somebody, even if they have been misguided because their father was following a certain understanding of something, if they someday want to realize what the actual Quran teaches, it's right in front of them. They just have to understand it by reading the actual language. That's all they have to do. So if they have been mistaught, misinformation has been, wrong information has been given to them, if they go back to the original text and try to understand, they will understand right away.
Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you very much.
There are some books and flyers here on the side as well. One of the volunteers will show you those, and if you'd like to take something, feel free. And make sure you guys grab some refreshments.
Oh, it's not on.
Mom, Sam?
To be here.
No, it's okay.
Did you get all right?
No, I don't think he's right.
I should let him know.
Yeah, this is those are different languages.
Is he into reading?
Yeah, I think so, it's just one.
I-
But
yeah,
Arabic
we
will
read
be the
together.
same.
So it's
Okay.
written in
No,
Arabic.
because I'm
Yeah,
asking
Arabic
because there are
English,
certain books
that's
on
it, this
different
is-
books on different topics.
Yeah.
There's some leaflets as well.
Yeah.
This is another
Uh,
language, Indian
this is a
language,
book
but
on
Arabic is
Islam's response
same,
to
other
contemporary
languages on the
issues.
other
So
side.
many present day
Arabic
issues
is same in
that
the
people
last
understand
1400
the
years.
explanations given to it in there.
And
Life
another
of
reason is
Muhammad
that because
gives
in the
very
life
detailed
Prophet,
life
Prophet had
how
memorized people
Prophet lived.
Quran.
Many false
There were
accusations that are
hundreds of
leveled
people,
against
those who
him.
memorized,
They're refuted in
and
there.
the Quran
at the
took
same time.
23
And this one
years
is
to reveal.
our successor,
And,
the
after
Messiah,
that,
the
Prophet
Caliphate
also
after him, the rightly
gathered
guided
all
Caliphate is
the,
continuing
because
after
at
him.
that time the
And
Quran
he has
was revealed,
delivered
so it was
wisdom
written
of
also on leaves,
and he has
on different
delivered
pieces
lectures
of
at parliaments and
like
different
leather
Capitol
and all
Hill,
that stuff.
European
Then
Union
they gathered
Parliament,
all together in the
European
shape of a
Parliament in
book.
Brussels,
And
and in different places. So this is just a compilation in which he's been warning the world towards World War III, that if we do not change our
he
ways,
gathered all those people
it is headed
and
towards
they listened
World
all
War
of
III.
them
And
that
just
they
recently,
remember
I
the
think it was
same,
less than a week
what
or 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks ago,
scriptures
when
we have.
Pope
And
was saying the
since
same
from
thing,
then
that, you
to
know,
till now,
the way this
people
is the World War
memorize
III has
Quran.
begun.
There are hundreds and thousands
So
of people.
basically, this is
So
what,
there is no way
this
that
is
no,
just,
any,
you know,
nobody
more
can
of a
change it.
guidance for,
So they
I
read
guess,
passages
you
out of
read, I mean,
this,
you'll
like just
understand.
like there.
Your
That's part
child
of
is
their
15-year-old, I
prayer
think it would be
process.
difficult for him.
Yeah, like
For him, I would
it's
recommend
good
educating
that-
out of these
yeah.
the required.
yeah,
Because I
but
wanted-
in
it was
Bible
like
there is no
for me to
Hebrew
get
words.
across
Like
the
if you
head,
have, if you're reading an English
just
Bible, so there is no Hebrew,
like,
it's all is
not
English.
what you were
If
saying,
somebody is
not
reading Bible in
just because
Pakistan,
they're ISIS
they
and
have
say
Urdu.
they're Islam doesn't mean
If
they're
somebody is
following.
reading Bible in India, they have Hindi.
Since you
So
came
there is
here,
no-
you're taking
so
a
there is
certain
no
perception
original
and an
text
image that you
beside
can
it.
present to not
So
just
God mentioned in
your,
Quran that
your
God
child,
will
but
take
like
care
so many
of
people.
this book.
Yes, sorry,
Nobody
just
can
one
Monster
change it.
Richard?
God mentioned in
Oh,
Quran.
hello there.
Yes.
How
And
are
there
you
was
doing,
Mayor
sir?
actually asking questions.
So the
Mayor
book-
Bruce, that was the
translation
mayor.
is
I
there.
requested him
and
if
Arabic is
we're
also
just gonna
there.
have
So
a group picture with him.
translation, if
And
I
he
do a
graciously
translation,
said yes.
maybe I can
So
do
why
a
not we
different
should have
translation, a
honor
little bit different.
having
be
picture
different
with
wording.
Mayor.
Yeah. So, but
Yeah, absolutely.
Arabic is same.
Maybe we can
If you
chat
take
here then and
five
call him in,
dictionary,
or how
I
do
think
you-
that
So
would
there
be
are
inside
some
would be
word
better.
have, if one word have 5 meanings in one dictionary, maybe the another dictionary have 6 meanings or 7 meanings.
Thank you so
but
much for coming out.
Arabic
Thank you
is
very
same
much.
there, so
It's a
nobody
pleasure.
can change the
We're
Arabic.
gonna, yeah,
Okay,
we're
so
gonna call him Mayor
we're
too.
gonna
and
probably
then
ask you a
the-
couple of
and
questions.
everybody was-
Yeah, if,
Part of being
if
a
it's more tough
newspaper-
than the
newspaper
Bible,
person.
Yes, absolutely, that would be great. And if there's anything
Hi.
you
So, like,
want to call or ask information,
in
there's numbers at the
Christianity, we
back
have
as well.
different
But this is
sections,
why email
obviously.
address
We
is
have
on
For
your
one second, I'm
website.
going to
Feel
interrupt
free
you,
to
madam.
contact,
Excuse
call,
me,
email,
one
whichever you
second,
like,
sorry.
and ask any
I have
question.
requested Mayor,
and
we can
don't
have a
even,
picture with
you
him.
know, I won't get offended.
So we're
even if
gonna
it's
just
not
call him
put
for the
right.
picture of the volunteers.
I
With
would
the mayor,
So
and
don't
then we'll
even
call
worry
him
about
in.
it. You're-
He's just waiting, I'm gonna call him inside.
The mayor wants
Thank
a
you so much for
picture.
coming in.
We asked
Please
him.
take some
Yeah,
We feel
pictures.
honored to be here
Wow,
because he's
you
here.
can represent the voice, I
Want
don't
me to
do
go and
pictures.
get it, or?
I asked him already, maybe you also can
Yeah, I'll take
have
a
it
picture
too.
of it. I'll take a
I'll-
picture.
Okay.
You can be in the picture 'cause With the mayor. with the mayor. Oh, no.
What did you
I-
think
I'm
of
not
the-
doing it.
So,
I don't need to be.
Good presentation.
Okay,
I was
have to.
telling,
Didn't want you to be. If If the want me to? If the mayor wants you to be.
what's his name?
Sergio.
Not God.
Our volunteer?
Yeah, this guy did.
Sergio.
No,
Sergio?
you wanted everyone to
Yeah,
be,
it's just-
apparently.
yeah, because he was taught, we were
But
talking.
You go snap it.
So I talked
Yeah,
with
I
some
don't-
other.
I don't do
this-
pictures.
this young man was talking to. And,
One question
so yeah,
I
so
would
he
like to know
talked about a
is,
lot. I know a fellow who's,
like just looking at that there when
in
I
town
picked it
here.
up, it
Here,
talks
let me take
about
the picture,
our,
'cause
that follows Islam.
well, I thought he was
Ali.
calling,
No.
He's Sunni.
you know, it
But
talks
we've
about,
had some good talks, so it's
oh,
quite.
cut off your
And I said, it's a good thing when people start talking to share.
Okay,
It
well, I would have,
does-
we gotta have a
it
picture.
does-
Yeah, right.
I will give you the.
an
So-
understanding, more of an
Most
understanding.
of the सारे आ जाएं, उनका तो सीधे हैं.
oh,
Just,
hang on,
Imam,
I'll
please.
use my bottle of water here.
Yeah.
Especially.
I was pronouncing it. You too,
We'll have pictures and we'll talk.
You too,
Come here, guys.
Is this your
Come here, please.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Councilor, come here, please. Imam, just-
Yeah.
I've been pronouncing this wrong, it's Imam, not Imam.
It
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
the best thing is
Yeah,
you have to
I'll
type
be
for
close, please.
pictures,
Okay.
especially
Turn
if they're-
sideways.
You have to turn sideways.
All right, there we go.
Can you get it? I could probably get one with my phone.
Happy you
How
were by
good you
yourself.
really are.
How much they're back or?
But no,
I mean,
that's,
it's
but
just
that's
a
the
media.
perception though of
It's
people
strange.
in the public. That's how they look at it because they hear of, you know, a teenage girl who goes out and, you know, sleeps with some guy.
Yeah.
You know, that she's going to be killed. The family of the guy is going to be paid off, and it's swept under the rug. That's what people hear, right? So it's, I think it's important, you know, in your talks and stuff as well, like not to just show the commonalities between the religions, but to kind of distinguish some of those,
Preconceived ideas.
yeah, preconceived ideas that, you know, you guys are a bunch of barbaric men who are going to go out and slaughter your children and your women. To
You
be
see,
blunt.
those things do
I mean, I'm going to be
happen.
blunt.
No,
That's what
absolutely.
people think.
They do not
We
just
land up a
happen
lot.
in Muslims, they happen in every society. But when it
Of
happens with a
course.
Muslim, it
It's-
comes in the news as it like, okay, this is an honor killing, the religion of Islam. I mean, if you just read the news, you can find that father did this to his daughter or, you know, whatever. Like, I mean, there are countless examples. There are more in non-Muslims than in Muslims. But when Muslim does it, the media wants to show it to create sensation or to whatever the reason may be.
It's
That's-
news.
Yes, exactly.
They blow it up
create
to give
news.
it news.
But as I mentioned, there's lesser of that happening among Muslims than in non-Muslims. Because Muslims, as I mentioned, we respect women a lot, especially like our wives and daughters and mothers and whatnot. We are told the Holy Prophet Muhammad, he was one time asked by a companion that who is the most deserving of respect.
Mhm.
He said your mother. He said after that, still your mother.
Lovely.
If you could come in please as well.
Yeah, sure.
So
Yes.
that all the
Carl, go
volunteers.
get- Yes.
Yeah. Grab one of this.
You know how to use it? Carl?
You probably have to squeeze yourself in the corner. So
Squeeze in there like.
just wait for that.
Okay, that's
Let's go
enough
there.
flashing.
That's great.
Most of you know.
Then we're gonna have to get all your names,
Horrible.
and you'll have to spell them because I butcher names, bad. So,
Look inside.
Oh.
There you go.
No.
No,
Just-
just tell him explain. Maybe
Kind of
give
I'll
her.
take with one that's
Okay.
I have the same technology.
I'm the
back.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There you go.
Wonderful.
finally.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now all you see is spots. Have you seen a doctor? No, spots. Thank you very much.
Well,
Very
Thank you very much for
informative.
coming out, taking
Another
time out of the
question.
schedule. Yeah.
Mostly from Pakistan and India. This.
Not even
exact-
India,
Indonesia. Did you
mostly
miss
Pakistan, and we have to travel out. I don't know if you were here when I was mentioning that in Pakistan, there's an
Yeah,
extreme
yeah.
level of
Yeah,
persecution.
yeah.
In India, there
Here.
isn't for our community, so they don't move out as much, but we
Yeah.
have to
But.
because we
but
cannot
the-
practice our
But
religion.
the faith is in
Yeah,
India.
India, Pakistan, Indonesia, a very significant amount, and then millions in Africa as well.
Yeah,
There are
you
millions
said
in
that.
Pakistan as well,
I
but
just didn't hear if you said India.
no,
It
It
started
started from India.
it started
okay.
from
It
India.
started from India.
So what about ISIS and why are they so extreme and what do you think about that?
Well, they're the new caliphate, if you read their,
They so claim, they so
Yeah.
claim, yeah. We also believe in the successorship. We have caliphate as well that was started after the Messiah, which still continues and our current head resides in London. But I don't know if you were
I
here.
have to go.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
for
coming.
coming.
Thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you.
Environment, yeah. Like so the prophecy, so they're predicting like, it seems like something big is gonna happen to the world, like there's gonna be a comet hit Earth or something that happens that makes everybody believe again. Is that true? Do you think that?
We have to stop them. Whatever they are doing, it's absolutely wrong. Whatever their claims are, instead of getting scared by their claims, we should be working to stop them. Simple as that. And as I mentioned in my,
This is our Khalif, so just we'll give you.
this is our Khalifa or the successor. But what their claims are, as I mentioned during my course of talk as well, they have nothing to do with the religion. There's 1.6 billion Muslims in the world. Their percentage is less than 0.001% of the Muslim, less than that. So what that means is Muslims have nothing to do with them, they have nothing to do with Islam. But the media sometimes portrays it in such a way that it looks as if, Muslims are doing such things. For example, what happened yesterday, I gave the example in Colorado Springs. Why don't we hear anyone from any faith saying, we condemn this activity, we have nothing to do with this? Of course, nobody has anything to do with what happened yesterday in Colorado Springs, right? Innocent civilians were killed. This is just one example. How many, there have been incidents in the United States, especially of gun violence. Each year, like so many people die, no one comes out and says that this mass murder, the person, even though he so-called himself a Christian or he belonged to the Christian faith, but our religion does not teach that stuff, right? But there's so much of that happening, but nobody ever in the media highlights it in that way, so nobody connects them with the religion. With Islam, unfortunately, they use the word, the name Islam for themselves, and the media helps them connecting to, to the
I
religion.
think the reason why the religion gets brought into it so much in media is the fact that the terrorists, everything is, I can't say it because I can't speak it, but, in the name of God or Allah or whatever, I think that's why it gets brought in. Like, if you have, I don't know, a Christian group they very seldom will say it's in the name of God or whatever the case may be. They just go and blow up whatever they want to blow up and then, oh, I did it.
Absolutely.
Right? I think that's where, because
That's
they,
where it
they
becomes
hide
dragged
behind
in,
religion
but there has
to
been,
do what they're doing.
absolutely,
To try
absolutely.
to, you know,
To justify
to
themselves.
justify what they're doing. And I think that's why people associate terrorist groups with the religion instead of,
Which is very
you know.
unfortunate, because even in different faiths there have been groups. In every religion you can find a group of extremists who don't even follow their religion. They form their own religion, but they associate themselves to that. In Hinduism there are such groups. In Christianity we can find examples of KKK.
it's really no different really than when.
But everybody knows that religion has nothing to do with those. But in this day and age, unfortunately, it is being connected with Islam, and I appreciate your efforts, but at the same time, there's a lot of media in the world that is not helping. Just recently, I was watching a TV show on Al Jazeera. A show was called Head to Head, and they had invited one of retired generals from U.S. Army, from Marines, and he was one of the the general who led to the wars in Iraq and whatnot. And before he sat down for the interview, they showed his couple of his clips. In one of the clips, he said that we are fighting a war against Islam, and this is before, I believe, ISIS. So this was an older clip. They were just showing
That
a
was
lot
back
of
when
clips.
they'll
Exactly,
or Khan,
exactly,
however you pronounce
exactly.
it. That's what they said, this is a war against Islam. That was their
Exactly.
exact words.
And now, for example, this was on the TV show, and then the host was asking the person that if you are making such claims on in front of the public, this is what people are going to take. This is what groups like ISIS are going to take and utilize, twisted and confused people and say to them that this is what the West is saying against us. This is what the US is saying against us. Aren't you going to join us and fight the war against them because they're fighting against your religion? So a lot of times even regular people who have nothing to do with their ideology get twisted because of the media, and not just directly media, but more so because of these people, some ignorant people who, instead of categorizing it, those groups, they basically bring all of the religion in and they say that we're fighting a war against that. So such statements sometimes create a gap in the people, between people, and what happens is those people, some people get confused and they join groups like ISIS because of such media portrayal, you can say. And who does ISIS target to join them? I mentioned before too, it is usually twisted and confused minds. It is not regular people. It's people who have lost a purpose in their life. You know what happened yesterday in Colorado Springs? Again, that person was caught after, right? And that person, he knew when he was killing those innocent people that he's not going to get away with it. He wasn't even pretty much trying to get away, right? Sort of. So when he came out to do it, that mass murder, we have heard about mass murdering in universities and different places. Those people are not thinking of getting away. It's just that they have lost the purpose of life. They just want to do something, and they do such a dumb thing before they go away. So ISIS picks up on people like this and utilize them, manipulate them, and utilize them for their own purpose, basically. That's what I understand about ISIS, and that's what we try to explain to everybody, that ISIS has nothing to do with Islam. Islam has nothing to do with ISIS. They manipulate, they pick and choose random words from the Holy Quran and from media, from wherever they like.
Like you were mentioning one verse, so I can give you the answer for that.
Yeah, so if you pick and choose one verse, the same thing's going to happen. You can make anyone believe anything. For example, if I pick up a book of a constitution of any law, or and if I pick up the book and I read the punishment for, it's a book of law, right? So it's going to say that if someone does this, the punishment for this such crime is from this many years to this many years, or whatever, depending on where we are. And if I just state the punishment and say that this book teaches this, that's not what the book teaches. The book has hundreds of guidance coming with it, along with it.
Well,
that if someone does this,
Saudi Arabia, if a woman has to walk behind a man, and if she does something wrong, she can get stoned alive.
Saudi Arabia is not a representative of Islam. Saudi Arabia right now, that's where the religion was founded, but it's the least, the country that's the way the practice of that they do of Islam, it's the furthest away from the Holy Quran among the Muslims. Anything.
So what's the branch there? What's the name of that?
They are Sunnis, but again, their own interpretation, their own understanding, and whatever they're doing, they're absolutely against the Holy Quran. They're not following the teachings of the Holy Quran. And again, I'll mention just that, political powers in different countries like US and UK and whatnot, they're doing so many things against countries like Iraq, Libya and whatnot. Nobody has ever done anything against Saudi Arabia for the human rights violation they're committing. So there are more human rights violations happening in Saudi Arabia right now than any country. And as I mentioned, they're not following the Holy Quran.
Okay.
Not just not Holy Quran, any book for that matter.
Yeah.
And how about things like Sharia?
Sharia
law.
Sharia law again is just the term refers to the Holy
To the Holy
Quran.
Quran.
Sharia means law or book.
Uh-huh.
So this book is our way of life. This is what we utilize. So when they just they use these words just to confuse the people, groups like ISIS, and not just groups like ISIS, but even media sometimes utilizes these words and says that, oh, this is this and this, if the book teaches, or Sharia teaches this. The Holy Quran is the Sharia. The Holy Quran is the law that we follow for our spiritual connection with God.
So like honor killings,
Yeah.
that's not part of Sharia, the law.
The Holy Quran says, whosoever kills an innocent man, it is as if he has killed entire humanity. And if he gives life to one, it is as if he has given to life to entire mankind. So this is what the teaching of the Holy Quran is, and honor killings or any or those kind of things.
So what would you say to government, like certain government, like Ontario, I heard there was pressure that they would bring Sharia law, that they could practice Sharia law. So like there was people saying that at that time that's what they want to bring for a province or in our country to adopt Sharia law. Is that good or bad? I don't know. I asked the question. Would that be good?
For a Muslim, we follow the Sharia. We all absolutely follow the Sharia to, follow the Holy Quran in letter and spirit. There's not a commandment we do not follow. Groups like ISIS, they pick and choose, but we don't. We follow every single thing. The Holy Quran says, the Holy Prophet Muhammad has said himself, loyalty to your country is part of the faith. If you're not loyal to your country, you're not a Muslim. Even if you call yourself a Muslim.
Yeah, that's where I was wondering, why would a province adopt a law technically contrary to whatever your laws are? Like, because I think that had to do with an honor killing. Someone was ditched in the water or whatever, and they said it was an honor killing that they're based on Sharia law. And I'm thinking,
and where did that happen?
In Ontario.
If they did that, that would be extremely, illogical on their part, and I don't think, government is smart enough not to allow such thing.
I didn't think there was, but I was just saying.
No, there isn't in the Holy Quran either, and I wouldn't understand why would any country or any province or any government allow that, even if it is. As I mentioned, there is no compulsion in religion. It says over there, it's the verse of the Holy Quran. If anyone is doing that, it's against the Holy Quran. And secondly, as I mentioned, no religion teaches violence or killing of innocent people. If that's the case, then not just Holy Quran. If a person of any religion kills anyone for those kind of reasons, that person should be brought to justice. He has committed a crime, not a religious duty.
Right.
And since he said already that we believe that our religion has been hijacked, so people who are even doing it, if they're Muslim, then it should be understood that they have their own agenda, or they're doing it for their own benefits or political benefits, or to show their power of their extremist beliefs. But the actual source to learn the Islam is the Holy Book of the Holy Quran and the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. When he was even talking about Sharia,
From Vermilion
there's a verse in the Holy Quran.
No, from the
that talks
Voice,
about
I'm same newspaper as Lauren.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you're from Voice, so
she's
expecting
a
someone
reporter.
from there as well.
Oh, so Chris will probably be coming from the stand.
Possibly, or maybe
Because
doing
I think
sometime,
Chris is the only one that's doing anything over there.
Yeah.
If you have any other questions, feel free to
Yeah, I
email
have
me.
loads.
Feel free to email me. It's easier to
Right.
answer during an email as well. It becomes more formal. So if you have any questions, Lorna already has my email. We already talked on email as well and on phone as well. So if you have any question, feel free to email me, even when we're gone. So it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's a lot of misconceptions out there that I think we really need to,
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. This is the purpose of the event as well, to give the actual teachings. Even if there were like only 15 or 20 people show up to this event, they go out and get the word out to like, maybe their 50 or 100 friends or colleagues that they have. So it does help, and this is the intention behind these events. And when, especially you, for example, coming here, both of you guys, it helps us show to the world that what our religion actually is, not what sometimes people make it out to be. So we appreciate that on your
there's
part
a lot
as
of
well.
misconceptions, like people do think that, the, I guess the Islam religion, right? That they, how can I say it? I'm always so careful with my words.
Say it.
Just say that straight.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's
People
what we
look
hear.
at it as barbaric
Yes.
and backward, and I don't know, I could think of a lot of other adjectives, but they think that basically men in the Muslim religion or the Islam religion think women are to be basically back here, that they have no rights, they have no freedoms, they have no nothing, and people do believe that it's a barbaric religion. And
Well,
that's,
absolutely,
that
because
is
of the
that is
depictions.
the thoughts a lot.
Why not
amongst
you
a lot
take
of people.
example of any of us? I think most of us are married, and let's ask question about our marriage, and then you can see how.
After that, still your mother, then your father. So after 3 times, the 4th time, he said it's your father. And then similarly, in another narration, it is said that the Prophet Muhammad said that the heaven is under the feet of your mothers. So I mean, it didn't say fathers, it didn't say husbands, brothers, whatever. It said mothers. So women are given extreme respect in our religion, in our faith, and that's not just that's common anywhere in the world. But of course, certain incidents happen, and as I mentioned, they're less common in Muslims than in other societies. But it's just that for past some decades, it has been that the Muslims have been getting highlighted as more barbaric and backwards, rather than highlighting the true teachings, what they're actually teaching, right?
Exactly, that's my point.
Yeah, like in Saudi, they said that women cannot drive a car, but Prophet Muhammad's wife used to drive a camel. Used to ride a camel.
Which was basically
Yeah.
That they're mode of transportation.
Yeah, that
that
time was the car.
transportation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are women, like I know there was a big hoopla, like, when Iraq supposedly became, a democratic country, which I kind of have my own thoughts on that one, but for the women to be able to go out and vote and stuff like that. So is that kind of just more towards different countries, like what women are allowed or what they're not allowed?
Governments and whatnot, the women have as much right to vote as men. Women have as much right to be leaders as men. In America, we haven't had a female head of state in the entire history of. In Canada, we may have had one. I'm not sure if it was more than one. I think it was Kim Campbell, and she was only there for a few months. And she wasn't elected. She wasn't elected by the public. That's another thing. She was, the prime minister at that time resigned, and she was chosen from within the party. And a few months, 5 or 6 months later, she wasn't there anymore. The elections happened again, and someone else was elected. So what I'm trying to say is, in Muslims, in Pakistan has had a female head of state twice. She was elected twice.
Benazir Bhutto,
Yeah.
she.
Bangladesh.
Then
has
Bangladesh has had it, and
So
I think there are about 7.
basically a country's own.
culture.
Exactly. It's
That's
also not even. This is what I'm saying. It's not even common in Muslims. If in a country like Pakistan, which I admit it's a developing country, and not just developing, and they have many backward rituals. But at the same time, the fact that the majority can elect head of state, which is a female, it shows that in our religion, in a majority of our religion, there is absolutely nothing against women. It just gets highlighted in that way sometimes. Otherwise, Muslims respect women a lot more than I find any other faith to be respected.
Well, I'm sure they probably do a lot more than some of the stuff that happens here, but
So,
Yeah,
yeah, so this is what our understanding and belief is. But as I mentioned, it's just the way the media wants to look at it sometimes, right? And if they want to make something barbaric, very easy to find examples and highlight them and
but you can
blow
do that
them
with
up.
any religion, really.
Any
If
religion,
you wanna
any
look at it.
society, any
Right.
society. If you want to take the, just that idea of Mayans that the world is going to end in 2012 and make it so popular in the entire world, you can do anything, through news and media. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Welcome.
Well, that's why our goal is to put it more positive for you guys,
Thank you so much.
Instead
We
of-
appreciate that. We
instead
appreciate
of the
that.
negative crap that you hear all the time. So, but we do have a paper to get out by tomorrow,
Yeah.
so I
And
have to go.
if you guys have any questions,
Absolutely.
I will leave my card with you as well.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And if you email me today, I'll try to get back to you before tonight. So you'll have my answers before midnight.
So
if there's
the
anything,
whole,
feel
the
free to
whole
ask.
purpose of this today is just basically to put out information and to inform people and to show the commonalities between everything. right?
Different faiths and show the actual teachings of Islam and remove misconceptions and show that this is what our religion teaches. Is there any sign of, you said, barbaric or backwardness in any of these teachings? Is there any, if there is anything, feel free to ask and, try to explain and clarify.
Yes, but I'll email
Okay.
Tariq the picture and get them to name the names for me.
Yeah.
So, because it probably won't be in the paper this week, because I
Just
don't
one thing
have
I'm
time.
wondering about, the prophecies, like, so that's all predicting today, this time, right?
Became fulfilled today, yes.
So does that mean that something's gonna happen around this time now?
No, this is what I'm saying, like, it has prophecies about all the times. We believe this is it referring to the time the world was getting prepared for the Messiah.
So there's a Messiah coming now?
We believe in the Messiah whose
Not yet.
picture was
That's
outside.
what
When
we're
is he
saying, it's
coming?
here.
Nobody
already.
knows.
No,
What's
we
the-
already believe in the Messiah.
They believe in the one that's in the hallway.
picture.
The
In the
ones
hallway.
that walk in.
Oh, right.
The first picture you took.
But if you look,
The
but if you
banners.
look at Christianity, basically Christians,
Pretty well, all the
I'll be
religions
upfront and
are
honest,
still
okay, I
looking
don't
for the
know a whole
Messiah.
lot. They're still waiting, right? Okay.
So if you're still waiting, does that mean that he's gonna come again?
We believe that
For
the
people who are
purpose has
waiting.
already come, but if somebody has a different belief, then it's his own belief, right? For example, the Jews are still waiting
Messiah.
for the first Messiah,
Yeah.
and he already came according to our understanding and Christian understanding as well, that Jesus was the Messiah for
Right.
the people of Moses.
But they think that he's gonna,
Yeah, they're still waiting.
So everyone was still
Right.
waiting.
For the
yeah,
Christian,
my mom was here, she could tell you everything.
for the Christian, and I'm a Christian, so our belief is we accept it, which I understand, we accept the prophets. We accept him as the Messiah. When he died on the cross, we believe he's coming back as the Messiah, because he said he would come back. So we accept him. We all, and they I guess mentioned it, which is quite clear in a lot of ways for me. A lot of these religions are waiting for a Messiah,
Mhm.
be it whatever. They believe this Messiah, who is this gentleman over here.
Yes, his picture is
over,
outside. His
over,
picture is
over there,
outside.
has come. All the other religions are still waiting. So, if he is the Messiah, whatever, because all the religions do point to a Messiah.
And we believe that if 10 different messiahs come, instead of
Confusion.
uniting people, it will create more conflict and for no reason war between people.
So do you think
So-
that all the conflict between all the different religions, like, hey, you guys have your Sunni section and your Shia
Shiite section. Yes.
sections, right? So why,
73 sects.
there's how many?
73. In Christians, there are
Really?
72.
Holy
In
In
Prophet
Christianity,
Muhammad.
in Christianity there are not hundreds, but probably over 1,000. Every religion has small denominations.
Right, yeah.
How many different churches do we just have in Vermilion and Lloydminster area, right?
A lot.
So, and they're different. They're not even, like.
Yeah, they don't all believe the same
Exactly,
thing, and they don't all
exactly.
interpret the Bible the same way
Exactly.
either.
So there,
right?
yes, there are countless.
Because like when I grew up, I was always taught that Jesus was the Son of God, but then all of a sudden it changed, and that it came that Jesus and God are one and the same, and I was kind of like, huh? Like I'm confused, right? And I'm like, well, when I grew up and I was this big, I was always told that Jesus was the Son of God, and da da da. Da. And now, if you listen to things that are being said, they're saying now that Jesus and God are one and the same. And I kind of argued it one day. I was like, okay, so if that's true, and Jesus was on the cross, and everything else, and he looked up and he said, Father, why have you forsaken me? How can they be one and the
What did
same?
he ask?
Right? How can it be one and the same when you're... And I was kind of... Yeah, okay, and that's when I kind of went, okay, I give up, because this
Everybody
changes too
has
much for me
different
to follow, right?
understanding of God. What we believe, our belief, as I mentioned, we believe in all prophets. We believe Jesus was a prophet, according to our understanding and our faith. Moses was a prophet, so was Jesus. And as I mentioned, we make no distinction between the prophets, who's higher, who's lower.
Who's whatever.
Yes. So it's your personal belief that how you understand one thing, how you understand God. Well, we believe that Jesus was a prophet, and he has mentioned it in the Holy Bible as well, as said a prophet has no honor in his own country. And in the Holy Bible, entire book, nowhere in any of the books he has said, I am Son of God or Son of God for himself. Every time, whenever he has referred to himself, he has said Son of Man. Wherever, and if you're reading King James Version, Jesus' wording is in red mostly. Never you would find he's saying that I'm Son of God. Son of Man is the term he always uses.
Right.
So what we understand is that he was man and he was a prophet of God, a very high personality. And as you mentioned, when he was put on the cross, he was praying to God that why have you forsaken me when you had made such promises to me. So
Right.
that's what I would understand.
And that's that's kind of the point I'm making, is that it's all an interpretation of how one believes. And say me growing up as a child being taught this is what it is,
Yeah.
then that's what I'm going to strongly believe,
Yeah.
right? Whereas someone else might grow up, with their parents teaching them this, and this, right? So I think that's where all the conflict and everything comes from.
Well, I think and he was right when he was sharing. When we don't know the truth, we should look for the truth. We should seek truth.
Yeah.
We should seek peace. We should seek truth. You have to go back to the book where the truth is found, or where truth is found. Because we could sit there trying to decipher all this stuff, and it gets more confusing. I think we should seek peace.
Everybody, God has given us all a brain, a mind, and we can think. We should utilize that, and rather than just following blindly anything, anything blindly, should do our own research and understand as much. And then just last week, as I mentioned, we were in Unity conducting an open house. Someone asked me that why am I a Muslim? I said that what I have just presented to you, this satisfies me. If whatever you believe satisfies you, you're free to believe that, because God says in the Holy Quran, for you is your religion, so to Muslims, for me is my religion. So you're free to follow whatever you want to follow. I am satisfied with what I follow. But if you show me something better, which satisfies me more than this, which gives me more answers to my needs than what I learned in the Holy Quran, then why wouldn't I convert or change to that side? So this is what our belief is, that I believe that Holy Quran satisfies all my spiritual and the worldly needs. How to live in a life, how to spend.
So do you believe that if people out there have no God and they just go on about their daily lives and they don't pray or they don't believe in anything, do you believe that they're not going to be saved?
As I mentioned during my course of talk as well, that God can forgive anybody. God does not need a reason to forgive someone. The smallest of the reason is sufficient for God to forgive. If God sees that this person was caring for humanity, that could be a sufficient reason.
So you don't have to believe.
You have to believe in
I
accountability.
think you have to have some sort of faith.
Accountability, that's what I said.
Something.
Yeah.
Belief in God and belief in the last day is mentioned in the Holy Quran is necessary to attain nearness to God or salvation in that matter. But that, why is that? Because if you have that belief, you're not going to commit, you're not going to kill, you're not going to do what happened in Colorado Springs yesterday. You're not going to do what is happening in Iraq and Syria. You're not going to do what happened in Paris a couple of weeks ago. That's not believing in God. That's not believing in accountability. So as long as you believe that you'll be held accountable for whatever wrongs that you do, and you will get rewarded for whatever goods, that's.
But I've also heard, in religion and stuff like that they say, even the worst of the worst, child rapists, murderers, serial killers, the worst of the worst, that you didn't have to follow anything throughout your whole entire life.
God can forgive that person.
But then, if you're dying or whatever, as long as you ask for forgiveness,
if God wishes to forgive you, God will forgive. According to our understanding, Pharaoh's example, Pharaoh was the opponent of Moses, Prophet Moses, who tried to kill him, not free his people, and tried to persecute and oppose Moses and his people in many different ways. he in the Holy Quran is mentioned that Pharaoh, when he in his, he was about to die, he repented to God, saying that, oh God, I realized that Moses was truthful. I should have, believed in him. So forgive me. And God said at that time that, I will preserve your body. So his body, it's mentioned in the Holy Quran 1400 years ago, and his body is still preserved in Egypt, like in the museum it's there. So we believe that these things, for example, God can forgive whosoever he wants, whenever he wants. But at the same time, if, for example, there's a criminal and he says that God has forgiven me now, God may have forgiven him. The government or the ruling or the authorities cannot just let him go just because he says God. So the punishment in this world from the authorities, the rightful punishment, he has to get. If God wants to forgive him, that's his matter with God. Cannot just mix these two matters just because this person is all of a sudden going to church every day or going to the mosque every day. Okay, let's forgive. No, it doesn't work like that. And our religion absolutely does not teach
But I
that.
think people think that.
As I mentioned,
they think,
one
I can
can
go
be
and murder
forgiven.
my next door neighbor, and all I had to do is ask for forgiveness, and poof, it's going to happen. But I think people believe that.
If they do, as I mentioned, it's wrong, right? It's wrong because it has no justification. One could be forgiven.
Well,
If he's
ISIS
truly
thinks that
sincere.
they've got 50 virgins waiting for them, and they don't they?
I don't know.
You can-
I don't
I feel
really
like
pay attention.
You should read the entire Holy Quran, and if there is anything like that, you should let all of us know as well.
If that's the case,
No,
you'd
there's-
see every man in the world is slaughtering somebody. But no, I think that's their backwards.
The Christians and the Catholics specifically that believe that forgiveness, like the confession and the absolution, that's more of a Catholic thing. I mean, I think it's everywhere, but the Catholics are the ones that really push it, so.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is open to anybody, everybody, anywhere according to our faith. It's open to anyone regardless of being a Muslim or not being a Muslim, but as I mentioned, God can forgive you, but that doesn't mean if you have committed a crime that you can be punished in here, in this world. So your punishment in this world, if the authorities are coming after you and you say that I have repented and
Yeah, they're not
certain
going to
scholars-
let you go down
Yeah,
the street and
exactly.
say, oh, hey,
Yeah.
okay, we believe you, so you can go murder somebody else.
Like, for example, the certain priest or the certain imam testifies that I've been going to the church every day since, after I committed, and I'm never going to, no, that's not sufficient. The world, in this world, God has said that, you have to follow the law. If there's someone commits a crime, someone has hurt someone else, he has to be given, justice, the person who was, wronged. But
Yeah.
at the same time, if God wants to forgive someone in the heaven because he sincerely repented, that's God's matter, and I don't even know who gets
Yeah.
repented and who doesn't.
No.
But if God wants to
None of us
forgive,
do.
absolutely. So,
Yeah.
do you have any questions, sir? I know you came here after. There was actually some of these people have been here for over a year.
Yeah, it's a really good presentation. Wasn't it?
Sorry, no, I just,
We gotta go back to work.
yeah, well, when I came in, I thought that you were being interviewed for the paper, that's why I just,
Oh, no, we're just,
sorry.
well,
Conversation.
we're just nosy.
Yeah,
It's what newspaper people do. We pick up facts by listening, right?
Yeah.
So,
I don't have any particular questions, I just, mostly I've been kind of disgusted by the intolerance I'm seeing amongst my friends, and I wanted to come by and, I guess, let you guys know that
we appreciate that.
some of us aren't.
oh, that's awesome.
No,
So
thank you so
your
much.
friends are a little
More
bit...
relatives, but yeah,
Right.
I tend to pick my friends better, although a couple of them have bothered me, but my relatives have been driving me crazy since the Paris attacks.
Yeah, like
and-
what Donald Trump came out and
Oh,
said,
yeah.
he's really extreme. That doesn't help that he could be the next president.
No, I don't think he's even going to be. It's
No.
nothing to do with the
Well, I
religious
hope
thought, but
that
just a
just, I
political.
hope that just like,
Yeah,
Well,
it's just a
right.
fact. He's been losing popularity. If you
Yeah,
notice,
he really
right from the
has.
beginning of the campaign, how he's been going only downwards, never hasn't jumped up. So I don't think he's trying to target a certain group in the States.
yeah,
I don't
he's
think-
trying to
He's
get
trying,
the,
Texas.
but I don't think he's going, not just Texas, but entire states, he's looking for a certain group, but he's not gonna be able to find a majority. Even if he's representing his party, he won't be
oh
able
my
to.
gosh, he gets
Yeah,
elected
there's-
president, that's it.
He's not
I'm
gonna
gonna
do
pull
that.
all my American relatives out of America and just bring them here, because that's just, no, that would just be crazy.
The only way
He's a quack.
that he or Carson or any extreme right wingers, or like none of them could be elected president, I don't think. The only way a Republican could get elected president is if it's one of the more moderate ones. Because there's just none of the fence sitters are gonna go that way.
Yeah.
So only the diehard Republicans are gonna go that way, and that's it, so.
And it's not just towards Islam, it's just insensitivity towards every community. Like that comment, something regarding building a wall between Mexico and America. Like, I mean, it has nothing to do with even any targeted religion. It's just that, it's just what kind of thinking is that? I mean, it's,
He's a horrible person.
Exactly. So,
He's just, oh, I can't even.
But he is appealing to a certain segment that are dissatisfied and unhappy. And the ones that aren't so unhappy are just laughing at him.
Well, he'll target the followers, right?
Yeah.
People without their own brains, that can logically think and see that he's, I mean,
Up to lunch.
don't even get me started on him. He's just a horrible person. But anyway, thank you guys.
thank you so much for coming.
Very
Thank you.
informative. And if I see someone, I'll send them this way.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. How did you hear about the event, sir?
Actually, in the newspaper.
In the newspaper and
Yes,
Standard.
locally, yes.
You as well?
Twitter.
Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where I hear about most things nowadays.
I'm more the old school, I guess the dinosaurs are still reading the newspaper.
The newspaper is still one of the most effective ways, and it keeps you informed. Keeps you informed in a very concise manner. In Twitter, you can get lost. Anyone can get lost.
It is easy.
It is easy to get lost. It is a very useful tool, but anyone can get lost in anything that you want. The newspaper is very accurate and precise in the manner that if you're looking for something, anything happening in the community, you're able to find it, which is a good thing. Could you give him a quick tour if he has any questions? You can. Did you see the banners outside?
I did, yes.
Okay. Oh yeah. Did you go through as well?
So this
Yes.
is
So you can just follow along with him.
Sure.
and mentioned that how many verses in the Quran and how Quran reveals. It took 23 years to reveal the Quran. And in the beginning, when the Prophet was there and Quran was revealing on him, so he keep telling his people that to keep remembering the Quran, and also he keep writing on different things, piece of wood, piece of leather, because at that time there was not such a kind of book stuff. So the people keep remembering. There were hundreds of people who remember the Quran, and it took 23 years to reveal the Quran. And the Prophet Muhammad, and when he died, so after him the Caliphate start, like the person who lead the Muslims. So at that time there were four, one after one, it goes towards the four Khalifas, and after that there was no Khalifa left. So that's a whole different story. But the Quran, and God said that the text of the Holy Quran has remained unchanged over the past 1400 years. Millions of copies of the Quran circulating the world today, and all identical down to a single letter. Like Quran reveals in Arabic, so this is Quran. So this is the original text in Arabic. So this is a translation in English. So it's mandatory that if there is a Quran, so if there is a Quran, so it's mandatory that it should have his original text. That is Arabic. So translation, if I do a translation of Arabic in Urdu, I don't know the exact Arabic, but if somebody have a good knowledge of Arabic and English, that they can do translation. If any other person will do translation, so they will be a little bit different. But the original will remain the same. Same as this is another language. So our community did over 100 languages, translation of Quran, we did over 100 languages. So that's another language, but the original text is same, Arabic. So that way nobody can change the original text. And also there are hundreds and thousands of people who memorize the Quran.
Do you have anything you like?
So nobody, and when the Prophet passed, so when the Caliphate starts, so they gathered all those people. There were over 300 people who memorized the Quran, and all the verses of Quran were written on different things. So they wrote on a book, and they listened to every person that what you memorize. So make sure that whatever we have should be same. So God preserved Quran like that, and God also mentioned in Quran that I will preserve this book. It will remain in its original shape. So after 1400 years, still Quran is same. That like the Arabic it's same, it's
import
unchanged.
DRC,
Wherever you go, in which country you pick a Quran,
or
the
our
Arabic
email
will
is
be same.
amgo.ca.
No matter if
Only
somebody is
basically-
Sunni, somebody is Shia, somebody different sects
This is our
of
main
Muslims,
website.
but they
Okay.
follow the
Just
same
print
Quran.
is a little bit confusing, but if you
So-
call on this one,
After this, and Quran have 114 surahs,
oh yes,
mean chapters,
alislam.org, it has
and it has 6,348 verses.
in English and
Like it's
more than
one of its
50
surah
languages.
is
Oh, okay.
Baqarah, Surah Maryam. Maryam in Arabic,
But do you
it's
have
called
Arabic
Mary,
Yes,
mother of
I
Jesus.
do.
If somebody wants
And,
the Quran, we can provide them.
Surah Noah.
Yeah, I'd like to come
So
down
there are so many
sometime and
different
see,
chapters. The Quran also tells us the story about Noah, about Abraham,
We
about
are
Jesus,
taking one already.
about Moses,
We-
what happens with them.
He-
So
yeah, he
it
said
divided
that
into
was
different
for
chapters,
renovating.
and
Renovating
114 chapters and 6,348 verses. And
we got a biggest mosque in Mosque.
so this one, God said that how God created
Very beautiful.
a human.
Pasta.
And these are the verses of Quran. And surely we created man from dry wringing clay, from black mud wrung into shape. And the jinn we have created before the fire of hot wind. He created man from dry wringing clay, which is
Muslims is
like
that they're
baked
gonna take over the
poetry.
world and they're-
And we made from water every living things. Clay subjected
That's
to
not the
clay's
actual thing,
cycles of
is it?
wetting and drying
I think
candling.
this is how we're
So this is
deciding we're-
mentioned in Quran that how
That's-
God
that's
create a
as I
human
said,
being.
It's a misunderstanding. or the
And
extremist
then if you
views
go
that we
further,
promote
these
in
are the
media.
prophecies mentioned in
Take
Quran. There are so
over the
many
land. Our
hundreds and
belief
thousands
is
of
we
prophecies
take over
mentioned
the
in
earth,
Quran.
and we take
It's our
over the earth.
understanding that how
The
can
land
we
is already
understand.
there.
It's not like that if we pick
That's how we-
one thing and say, oh, this is a prophecy.
And Islam has no intention.
Like
especially-
this is one chapter,
I'm like, so a woman can convert
and
to
every
Islam
Quran
and still not
chapter
have to
starts with a
wear-
verse in the name of
That's
Allah,
your
the
choice.
gracious,
And
the gracious
the
and
Holy
merciful.
Quran says
So
that you
this is
have to cover
one
your-
example, one chapter.
your
The first
chest
start is
and your
when the
body
sun
parts
is
which
wrapped
are,
up
you know,
and when the stars
stuff
are.
that, other than that,
obscured.
veiling it is
So it's
preferable,
mentioned the
but
collapse of
it's
the
up to
solar
you.
system. So at that time,
Yeah, I can honestly
people
say
don't,
cautious.
when the Quran
So it
reveals,
also
people don't know
depends
that
on
what is
culture. If
the
you go
meaning
to
of
Muslim
this.
countries, it's a
But
culture
now
to cover
we
up
know
the
that
face.
what is the meaning of
People
this.
have never seen the
Okay,
face.
next, we go next. When the
You
sun
know,
and when the
here
mountains
nobody
are
cares.
made to move.
You don't cover
If
the
somebody
face, nobody looks.
read this verse
Over there,
1400
you
years
don't
ago,
cover the face,
they have
people
no
look
idea
at
what
you.
is the meaning of this. And now we have seen that we have
Where'd she go?
caves in the mountain, we
Yeah,
have
it's
Because like
paths
my,
in
my
the
cousin,
mountain.
she lived in Siam
So,
for
Now the science is so advanced that they did those changes. So these are the
3
prophecies
years.
mentioned at that
Her
time.
husband was
So by the
pregnant.
time
She moved
passes
there with-
and technology is getting advanced and we are getting in that age, now we
Yeah,
said, oh,
and
this
she
is
had
the
to wear-
prophecy mentioned at that time. Now we understand
She's got
that what
pictures
is the
of
meaning.
This big black.
The next one
Yeah.
is that,
That's
and
what I'm
when
saying, 'cause
All
it's-
you can see is
and
her
when the
eyeballs.
she camel 10-month pregnant are
Yeah,
abandoned.
except for
In the
what she
past,
wore was
camels-
black all the time.
Yeah.
They use camels instead of cars and other stuff. They had
Most of
because
them.
camels
It's
they
like
can
a culture.
live in desert
Cultural.
without water for so many
Identity
days. And
Yeah.
now we have cars and everything, so
that your
camels
most
are
respectful
obsolete.
woman.
So this is
That's
one
how
of
we-
the
we
another prophecy.
kind of use it, that they're doing it, but as
Uh,
you said,
So when you
the
see
wind-
people like myself
And
who
when the
doesn't wear
seas
any of
are
that,
made to flow
like,
forth one
does
into
that
the
change
other.
your opinion on?
Lake Panama
Or anything like
is an
that?
example. Like two
That's your
seas
choice.
together, two seas and
You
make.
wouldn't go, oh,
away
okay,
from
she
it.
doesn't.
So it is.
as you explained,
These are the
Islam,
prophecies.
holy book of Quran, it gives
And
you
when the
a
girl child
spiritual
buried
life.
alive in
At the
Kushnet,
time when the Quran was
in the
revealed,
past,
like,
in that
people
time,
were
1400 years ago,
naked.
before the Prophet
They
Muhammad
didn't
came,
wear
it was
clothes even.
in
So
Arabs,
the tribes,
whenever
or even
somebody
right now,
had
they used to go in
a
Africa,
girl
they-
child born, they buried.
That's their tradition
the
to
child.
stay naked even.
That's so brutal. So
Mm.
not
I mean-
100% people, but most of the
No,
people.
just give you
Yeah.
example.
So
Yeah, I
but
know what
when
you
the
So at
Prophet
that time,
came
when you're
and he
bringing
stopped
some
them and he,
teachings, they-
Allah
Muhammad
mentioned
even
them that
failed
this is a big sin.
Opposition and the opposition too, because what he's talking about.
Okay, and then
So it's just a respect.
and
Covering
when
your
books
body
are
is
spread abroad. So this says
I
that the
don't
printing
think
press
there's nothing wrong.
and the spreading of books.
And if
Like
it's-
we're also
if
in
it's
the
covered
library
with
that
face and if
before
it's
that in past 1400 years ago there was no
security
concept
environment, I
of
think that lady who is
books
doing
and
it,
that
she should be
stuff. If
following the
somebody's
laws of
writing a
land
book
and
in
not cover
Australia,
her face. That's
we
the
can have that
position.
book here due to the printing press and all that.
So it's just a culture.
So these are the few prophecies. This is
That's
just
right.
More than
one
everybody.
chapter, but there
Religion
are
tells you.
114 chapters, different prophecies,
Do not show off.
and
So like wearing form-fitting clothes, That kind of stuff,
Okay.
you mean, like, by showing up.
So this one guidance of mankind. So the Holy
Not
Quran
wearing a bikini
clearly
Yes,
states
yes,
that
yes,
God
yes.
has sent
or
prophets
shorts
to
or
the
something.
people in
Yes,
the
sir.
world. The prophets are
Okay.
not bring
Cool.
a universal message from
Well,
the
I
prophets.
personally think
Not only bring
The
a
head
universal
thing?
message
I
of
think it's
love
pretty.
of God,
I've seen a lot.
but the
of
prophethood
videos, it's
itself
pretty.
is universal in
I wouldn't
nature.
have an
No
issue with
nation
it
can
personally,
claim
but-
to
But
be
it's still
superior
again, it's a
over the
choice
chosen
if she
one,
wants
because
to.
a prophet was sent
So
to
It's
them
not a
as
big
their honor
scandal, oh,
is
she's not a
a
good
shared
Muslim,
heritage
not
of a
Muslim.
mankind.
She's not gonna be like shunned from the
Like,
community or
God
something,
sent,
she says, hey, I
according
don't
to
wanna wear it.
Holy Quran, God sent prophets to all the nations.
Teachings
In
are
the
there,
past,
it's
it was not possible for one prophet
to cover.
that he can travel all over the world and spread his
But not
message.
the
So
face.
God
Like
sent
some
prophet
others
in
are
every
limited,
nation,
and
every
the
country.
face and everything.
Quran mentions that
makes it
Allah, God
not
says,
public to-
sent
We
124,000
don't
prophets in the world.
doing it.
So we believe that they
Stay
all were
within
from
a
the God.
law of the land
They all
and
bring the same message of
that
peace
was
and
the time
humanity,
when it
and
was needed.
tell people that how to pass
Right.
your life, how
In Canada,
which are the
my
good
wife
ways
doesn't have
to
it,
spread your
nobody cares.
life, like Prophet Noah,
If she have
Prophet
it, nobody
Buddha,
cares either.
Prophet Jesus, Prophet Moses,
But
Prophet
if you have it,
Muhammad.
say, I give you
So it keeps
examples.
sending in
But if I
different
walk,
areas
if I
of the
went
world.
down to a
So
ramp
no-
or
when-
something like that, and I walked down
Like
the
in
street,
China,
and
they
something
have
on my head, then I'm
Prophet,
gonna
they,
stand there like a sore thumb.
Even
Prophet
nowadays,
Buddha is
most
there,
Muslims
so they
really
follow
want-
Prophet Buddha. So
because
we,
the
went,
media
we
is
believe that
more
he was also
open
from
to
God.
people, to this woman even don't
And
Like, I have a
believe
friend,
in
he
all the
lives in
prophets,
Iraq,
it's
and we
the
chat
same
all
thing.
the time about stuff, and he's, you know, trying to
Okay.
explain things to me, but sometimes
So
the things he
the
say- he
beliefs,
says,
our beliefs, like Muslims' beliefs
seem a
are
little,
believe in
you know,
God,
and,
believe in
but
prophets, like
he's
whoever
also
prophet
very
came there.
open.
So they were all from God, and we respect
It
all of
depends
them.
on him, as I
Like,
said.
and we can't even
You
say
were
that
asking
one
for
prophet
women's
was greater than the other one. They all were same. They all came from God, but they all came in a different time frame and different nations, in different areas, different countries. So and also believe on the books. Like as a Muslim, our belief is that some prophets also bring the scriptures from God. Like Old Testament, New Testament, we also believe that okay, that was from God, and that scripture was perfect and right, and it was from God. We respect the scriptures, same as Quran, and same as Noah and whatever scriptures he brings. So that all came from God, and they all were true. After the time passes, their followers and other tribes gathered into their region, so they bring some other things from their tribe. So that's how this region gets spoiled. But God keeps sending messengers. There are some more things like about science. Do not the unbelievers see that the heavens and the earth were a close-up, a mass, then we open them out. So Tariq was explaining better than me because he's a scholar. He studied 7 years in the school. So he gave very good answers of these. So if I will ask him that if he can bring. And also there are more prophecies like and by the heaven full of the tracks, and by the heaven full of the tracks. Thousands of aircrafts are in the air at any given time. Collision avoided system and ground and air controls are used to make sure the aircraft do not collide and arrive at the destination by the following their designated path in the sky, making our sky literally a heaven full of tracks. Like we all know that in the past, if somebody read this verse and they don't have an idea that what is all about, but we can understand that okay, this is a sign of God. Like in the skies there are tracks, and no airplane go in their own way. They have their certain ways they have to follow them, otherwise there will be collision. It also reminds me one of the I missed it here. And when the beasts are gathered together, so this sign is towards creation of zoos and national parks and safari parks. So these are some prophecies.
Because Prophet Muhammad was not only a prophet, but he was a ruler at the time.
Like if you have any question, anything, so I will try to give the answer. Other than I will give ask Tariq to give the best answer.
If there is 1,000 women, then 810 or 200 men with a woman, who's gonna take care? Who's gonna take care of that?
So we keep doing this kind of stuff. We also did last week in Unity,
That part
and
makes sense.
so we are from Lloyd Minster, so we have a big community there, over 300 people. So we also does more symposium. We did symposium last, I think 3 months ago. We did there interfaith symposium where we called a Jewish person and Jewish representative, Christian representative, a representative from Hinduism, Sikhism, and Tariq was also there. There were almost 200 people there, and they told about their scriptures, and people were there to ask the question about their scriptures. And in Wainwright we did another event. It's called Does Scriptures Allow Extremism? So, but that was just based on Islam. So Tariq was there, and there were almost 20 people came in that event, and we present a presentation about what we are doing in Canada, in other parts of the world, because our community is right now over 200 countries. It started from India around 126 years ago, and now it's in over 200 countries. So we have one head of our community, because every religion is right now waiting for a Messiah. Like Christians are waiting for a Messiah, Jewish are waiting for a Messiah, same as Muslims are also waiting for a Messiah. And Prophet Muhammad said that like Jesus Christ came after 1400 years of Moses, but under his prophethood, like Jesus was Moses was a prophet, and after 1400 years, Jesus Christ came. Same as after me, like after Prophet Muhammad, 1400 years after, a person will come, and that will be a Messiah. So we believe that that person is the one, his picture is outside, and he came after 1400 years of Prophet Muhammad. And there were some prophecies. Prophet Muhammad said that when he came there will be an eclipse of sun and moon. He will claim that he is a Messiah, but after that there will be an eclipse happen, and that will be a sign of his truthfulness. And so many people believe him at that time that he is true. So in the beginning, the numbers were in, I think first when people converted towards him, only 32 people were there, and now we are over millions, hundreds of millions in the world. So, and we are spreading the message of peace. Our motto is love for all, hatred for none. And these kind of events we are doing to like, because people have misconception about Islam in last 20 years or 10 years, what's happening. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, these kind of groups are creating, they hijack the religion, they manipulate the verses or whatever they want. So they're using for their political purpose and using people for their own interest. So we know that our religion is hijacked, so we're trying to let people know that this is not the Islam what they are representing. They don't have to do nothing with Islam.
This community, no, I'm probably going to say it wrong.
Ahmadiyya Muslim community?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
is that equivalent to, we have a United Church, which is a Protestant church, we have a Catholic church, we have Lutherans, which are Protestants.
Like
how do you define the community then?
Prophet Muhammad said that there will be a time come when Muslims will divide it in different sects. Same as Christian divided in, he mentioned at that time, 1400 years ago he mentioned, Christian divided in 72 different sects. There will be a time come, Muslim will divide in 73. So one will be at one side and 72 will be on the other side. And those 72 will be wrong, and the one will be right, and they will be following the exact teaching what he mentioned. So we believe that we are that one community, and because he also mentioned that a Messiah will come, a person will come after me, and he will get all the people together. And because everybody is waiting for a Messiah. If a Messiah came and said that, oh, I am a Messiah for Christians, another came and said, I am a Messiah for Judaism, Another came a Messiah for Hinduism because they are also waiting for Krishna. Muslims said that this is a Messiah. So they will not collect, they will not gather people, they will not bring peace in the community. So the human beings, as a human being, we have to be unite. The religion and all that stuff is here to unite us and tells us that what are the right paths to live our life. What are the good things? If you do good, you will get good reward from God. If you do bad, so you have to be prepared to get like God will ask you at that time. But there, at the same time, there is no compulsion. There is no compulsion in the religion. So whoever believe it or whoever not, that's in between you and your God. Like if somebody is not going to church, somebody is not going to mosque, somebody is not following the Quran, so we can't enforce him, we can't give him punish. That is in his and God, like is in between God and him.
Okay. So, how many communities are there now? Like this, say it again,
Ahmadiyya Muslim community.
Ahmadiyya Muslim community.
So,
in the Muslim religion, then how many communities?
now there are so many communities because the basic main sects in Muslim is Shia and Sunni.
Ah, okay.
So
Okay.
most of the countries are Sunni, and some of them are Shia. Like Iran is all countries Shia, but Saudi Arabia is Sunni. But they don't like each other. That's why the confliction in Middle East, because most of the countries are Sunni. Iran was Shia, and Saddam Hussein was Sunni, and the other people at that time were Shia. So they were persecuting the Shia people there, and now, so it's vice versa. So those are the main sects.
Okay.
Because they have the most people, like number of Muslims, they are Sunni, and number second they are Shia.
You mentioned a number for the Ahmadiyya community. How large is that?
Because community started almost 126 years ago, and I think right now the members of the community is tens of millions.
That's right.
Okay.
The most
Compared
Muslim
to
members.
Sunni or Shia, what?
Yeah, they are the most.
Oh, okay. And you mentioned conflict between them, basically thinking that they're the right way to follow, sort of thing. So, not that much different from Catholics and Protestants battling it out.
Yeah, that's right. So that's, and also they have their political. Those countries also have their political interests. Like I mentioned, that Iran is the whole country is Shia, and Saudi Arabia's whole country is Sunni. So that's why they don't like each other. Politically they are against each other, and they want to hold in that region. Like Iran also want, and Saudi also want.
And yet they all follow the Quran. And as
Yeah,
you
they
said,
all follow the
Quran
same
is
Quran.
Are peaceful teaching.
Yeah, that's the thing. They all follow the same Quran, but they are not following the Quran.
Right.
They interrupt the way they want.
They use the parts they want.
interpret
Yeah.
it, yes.
And that's what Christians do all the time too,
Right.
right? Christian countries, so-called
Mhm.
Christian countries.
Our community is recent, started sect within Islam, and we believe we're godly, guided community. Because we believe a person who came from God, and we claim to be Messiah, and we believe that the true teaching of Islam, which was forgotten by the rest of the Muslims, he came in and explained the true teaching of Islam.
Are you the largest Muslim community in Canada then?
Not in numbers.
Oh, okay.
I think in number, I think it might be second or largest, maybe after Sunnis.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So we have Sunni communities in Canada.
Because because we, as a community, we being persecuted in Pakistan. So that's why most of the community members, they go out from Pakistan because of the persecution. If I say hello to anyone in Pakistan in Arabic, it's mean Assalamu alaikum, peace be on you. I can go to jail for 3 years. Yeah. If I say that anything that Muslims does there, because they said that that's why there are persecution, because our community started 126 years ago, but it's being politically persecuted in Pakistan in 1974. They made law in country made a law that these are not Muslims, we don't believe their beliefs.
Oh, really?
So we'll persecute them, they cannot use anything that Muslims use. So that's why so many members of the community, they persecuted there, so they move out
They
of
migrated
from there.
Like-
And after the Messiah, we said that when he died.
Jamal Hussein Quran